Hello and welcome to China Dispatches, the official podcast of the European Union Chamber of Commerce in China that shares on-the-ground insights from business leaders and experts on doing business in China. Today, I'm your host, Ziting. In today's episode, we look at the communication with headquarters, difficulties China-based branches face when interacting with European headquarters, and provide suggestions how to increase mutual understandings. This is also the topic of the March-April 2022 edition of Eurobits. It's available on the dedicated Eurobits website and to download for free from the European Chamber website. We will add the links in the show notes. So today we have the honor to have our guest speakers are Mr. Jörg Wuttke, the President of European Chamber, and Alex Roberts, counsel at Linklaters. So I would like to start with Jörg first. Jörg, you've been in China for over 40 years. I've accompanied you in a lot of meetings, and we are always impressed by the way how you are able to make sure that your Chinese counterpart understands what it really means. That's really helpful for us. So today I would also like to understand or share your best practice with us on your expertise of communication with your headquarters. So what changes have struck you the most in the past 10 years? And what about in the past 2 years since the pandemic began?
Well, when you ask an old man about what was in the past or what is today, of course, the normal answer is in the past it was always better. It was easier and communication was more fluid. And besides, we didn't have any internet, so nobody could reach me after 8 o'clock in the evening. So headquarters, of course, have vastly changed. China market has grown incredibly in importance. The early days definitely was from China-based management to make the headquarters understand how China ticks, to really drag them along. Because for China, it was important to actually realize the market potential. Now it is flying in your face. It's very obvious. And that has really changed. Now, I think today, in particular, after the pandemic, it has reversed the situation. Now we have to explain what headquarters think to our China operations. So in the old days, we have to explain to headquarters what China is doing, and now we have to explain to our Chinese colleagues what headquarters is thinking, because Ukraine war has totally changed the discussion in our headquarters, as well as, of course, the shock of seeing the most important city in China in a lockdown mode. That will have ramifications. We addressed this in a survey to be launched on May 5th. Clearly, the discussion has completely changed with headquarters.
Yeah, thank you for sharing with us the good old times. I guess we all miss the good old times. So Alex, do you want to share whether and how the pandemic has changed their effectiveness in communication with headquarters?
Yeah, not a problem at all. And thank you very much for having me at Ziting. I think from my perspective, what has really changed is both in terms of our own business, but the clients and customers we work with as corporate lawyers and technology lawyers, for me in particular, it's just the fact that over the last 2 years and more now, there really has been a move to online communications with our headquarters and other affiliates around the sort of network group. That the freedom to travel and go back and forth to headquarters is just not there anymore, unfortunately. And indeed now in Shanghai, Beijing and other cities where members are obviously based, because of the varying degrees of lockdowns, we can't even go to our regional or local headquarters. So the way that we do business and communicate with colleagues in different offices and markets is totally changed. Online communications does have positives. Obviously, there's the reduction in carbon emissions, scope 3. There's the saving of time with check-in at airports and actual travel time back and forth, which obviously all very positive. But there's also a lot of challenges, I guess, when there are everything is being done on a work-from-home basis, digital communications. And this goes as far as the legal and the regulatory challenges too that we see on a day-to-day basis. From sort of information ownership, data management, regulatory issues around what technology you can use, particularly in China.
Yeah, maybe Alex, I can add to this one that, of course, seeing is believing. It's very vital to realize that actually we managed 2 years in an exceptional circumstance. We kept operations going, but it doesn't mean that we actually have the confidence and also the people, the experts, in order to have new projects and new investment here. Because for many reasons. One is, of course, our executives can't fly in. And we need them in order to sign up for the investment for the future. But also, even more important sometimes is Chinese VIPs cannot fly to our headquarters. I have in my own company realized many times that the visit of a mayor kickstarted $1 billion investment. The visit of a governor kickstarted a $10 billion investment. We don't have Chinese dignitaries traveling to our headquarters and making their case. And that is definitely a huge problem that we have. Then, of course, predictability is out the windows. Headquarters are looking at us and they understand we do very good in operations. We keep closed loops. We keep factories going. But the predictability is out the window. What we have seen in Shanghai, I think, has caused major concerns in headquarters of, China was always standing there as a predictable partner. And now all of a sudden, we don't know where this is all going to end and who's going to be next. So this kind of pandemic, as easy as it was in many ways over the last 2 years, with the world opening up and China closing down even more, makes communications with headquarters very difficult.
I think we all see how important is this in-person communication. Online communication can, of course, help us to save time and also reduce carbon emission, but we all miss this in-person trust and confidence in each other. Let's take a look now at the business environment. Based on our Business Confidence Survey 2021, 41% of the respondents report that business become more political. How does that impact your business communication with headquarters? In those situations, what are your suggestions to foreign companies operating in China? May I start with you first, our president?
Well, the easy answer is the suggestion is join the chamber. Get sensitive for political issues, join a platform where you can lobby, join a platform that has credibility at headquarters. And it's very important also that headquarters are getting very deeply engaged with European-based business organizations, Business Europe, the ERT, or also for SMEs, very important to get linked in order to see the discussion there. Politicization is a big problem that we had, but of course now it's overshadowed by the big political decision of zero tolerance, and that makes the game even more murky. You pointed out the Business Confidence Survey 2021. We did ours in January, February, and of course the result is something like a wonderful sunset from the past. It's something where we had to do a new survey in order to add information about what happened since March, in particular with Ukraine and Shanghai. So tune in for the survey coming out on June 20th with our VP, Bettina Schön. She will have the broad picture by then.
Thank you for the very good advertisement for the chamber. So, Alex, may I have your opinions as well?
Yeah, of course. I agree with everything that's said. I think it's become all the more important as the sort of geopolitical aspects have been building around the world. I think more and more headquarters are asking, is China isolating itself? Just because that's the perception that is seen, whether it's through zero tolerance on COVID or other aspects. I think for those of us on the ground, that is not what we're seeing. It's not the whole picture, and that communication back and forth on what the business environment is actually like and the political aspects of it is all the more important. I totally agree that a bigger part, I think, of the role of businesses here in China is on the advocacy side. A lot of the businesses that we work with are even more in tune with the regulations that are affecting their business. The potential for opening up is still there, and the Chinese government has been saying quite openly that it is still looking to open up, but obviously dealing with COVID is the short term. and opening up markets to European and other businesses is now mid to long term. But there is still plenty of opportunities for businesses to be setting that runway to opening up as and when COVID is dealt with. So that sort of lobbying advocacy aspect, speaking to the regulators that supervise in members' particular industries, I think is hugely important at the moment. And having that dialogue with headquarters to make sure that the messaging is correct in both directions, I think at this time is as important as it has ever been.
Thank you, Alex, for keep us optimistic. So far we've been talking about the interruption we are facing, also the challenge we are facing of the pause of people-to-people communication. As Alex, you just mentioned that now online communication is very important for all of us. So China's Personal Information Protection Law and the Data Security Law both went into effect in 2021. These are the very two important pieces of laws that regulate data exchange. So what impact do they have on cross-border data transfers? What should companies do to ensure compliance in data exchange? Alex, do you want to share your experience with us on this?
Yeah, I think for members, obviously, with European headquarters and wide international networks, in many instances, in cross-border data transfers is just part of business. And unfortunately, for a number of years in China, and in particular since we had the cybersecurity law released and come into effect since 2017, this has been a real critical bit of regulation and potential business barrier to a number of members that I work with. With the new laws that came out in September the 1st, the Data Security Law last year, and in November the 1st, the PIPL, the Personal Information Protection Law, it's good that these laws have finally come out and we have more certainty on how the Chinese government wants to regulate these issues. But it has to be said that they are framework laws and we still require a lot more guidance and implementing rules to know how they will work at an operational level. But to sort of give an overview of I think how businesses are operating or should be operating at the moment, with personal information of employees, customers, business contacts, still central to how we deal with those individuals is to get their consent to the transfer of their information on a cross-border basis. And documenting how those consents are gathered is going to be crucial. What's quite unique to the Chinese market is the security assessments that the government is proposing should be gone through for organizations to transfer information, including personal information, on a cross-border basis. And this would include information and data that's transferred to headquarters during just everyday communications. There were draft rules that came out in November that set certain thresholds that the government was proposing. 1 million individuals' data being held by an organization would trigger one of these government-led security assessments, or if you're transferring 100,000 individuals' personal information, 100% sensitive personal information, seemingly quite high figures, but actually for some members who are working in consumer-facing businesses in the China market, given the population here, these numbers are actually quite realistic. And particularly as European businesses continue to grow in this market, some will have expectations that they will start reaching towards those figures. So these security assessments and the additional compliance burden that might apply to some businesses is real. I know a lot of companies are continuing to track these rules and trying to work out how they manage their operations within them. And again, speaking to and your supervising regulators is critical, because some industries have an overlay of additional regulations that apply particularly to those sectors. For those businesses that want some more helpful tips, there's actually an article in the recent Eurobiz magazine where myself and a colleague, Tiantian Ke, have tried to lay out 6 steps that we see businesses should look to go through to do data transfers on a more efficient basis. So mapping your data flows, knowing what information you are sending back and forth with headquarters is crucial. We find that quite a number of companies don't realize that remote access to information does constitute a transfer under Chinese rules. So if you give someone access to a shared file, for instance, it doesn't have to be a physical transfer of information. That would still be caught by the rules.
Thank you, Alex, for the very detailed information. I would also like to advertise for the cybersecurity sub-working group. We have a very close communication and dialogues with our counterpart, both Chinese counterpart and European counterpart. Join us in the cybersecurity sub-working group. You will get a lot of first-hand information about this as well. So my last question to my guest speakers. So to conclude, could you summarize your best practice to increase mutual understanding between here and between the office in China and also headquarters, and build up Chinese expertise in headquarters?
Well, first of all, I would like to say that it's great that Europe has brought this up and that people like Alex have this platform of the Chamber, making sure that people understand the laws. And then, of course, the Chamber is a great platform in order to train staff to make companies compliant in this data exchange issue. Now, headquarters, many companies have many headquarters because they're business units and so forth. And these headquarters have to be kept in the loop. And of course, that is becoming increasingly difficult for China, and it becomes increasingly easier for other countries around Asia. So we have now the executives shuttling between Indonesia and Europe, or between India and Europe, and basically China's everything is online. There are very few heroes that go through 3 weeks of quarantine in order to have a personal look at what their investment does in China. So what it does to China will be visible maybe in a couple of years only, because now companies have told us, headquarters have told us in a German survey, and we will have our own results next week, that they put investment in China on hold. First of all, China doesn't appear to be very compliant with things that the West wants on sanctions. I think China fulfills the sanctions, but that's a different matter. But at the same time, also China now with this COVID lockdown, the traveling restrictions, makes it impossible for us in order to actually have a meaningful exchange for the investment of the future. And other Asian countries will step into this gap and take advantage of that. So exchange of people is vastly important. Diversity in staffing, so that we don't have China turning into a silo, and that we don't withhold Chinese talents going into our headquarters. Seeing is believing. Localization is a good thing, but localization to 100% has distinctive disadvantages, because also headquarters want to learn from China. China is a business fitness center. And if you don't have this kind of experience of your young managers living and working here, you actually don't understand what China can bring to the table for our multinationals in particular. So in a way, we need the borders to open up. We need headquarters to dispatch people, and we need the exchange also from our Chinese talents to go global in order to actually have a better understanding, but frankly also better business performance, because China has this built-in DNA of can-do, and we definitely want this in our headquarters.
Thank you, Jörg. Alex, do you have anything you want to add?
I think Jörg has given a great rundown, and I can only agree with everything he said. I guess with my legal hat on, I think European businesses already have a head start in terms of data flows, in that China is very much looking to Europe and the GDPR for how its data laws should develop. So therefore, any businesses that are already GDPR compliant will be 80%, shall we say, compliant with Chinese data laws without even thinking about it, when you've got a sort of top-down approach. The word of caution, I guess, with that approach is, yes, there are nuances to the rules here. I touched on a few in terms of the security assessments, which is very much a Chinese aspect of dealing with data flows. But again, not insurmountable if there is the communication between headquarters and the local China team for both to understand the requirements on both sides of the world. We don't have the granularity of all the rules yet here in China, but we can interpret and operate and continue to operate with the frameworks that we have as long as that communication is there. So I can only agree with your view that cross-pollination of knowledge and talent needs to continue in both directions if we are to make the best of the investments and the operational opportunities that the Chinese market presents to us.
Thank you, Alex, for the expertise and knowledge on the data cross-border data transfer. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks to our guests, our President Wuttke, and also Alex Roberts for your very insightful informations. If you liked our podcast, please share it on social media. I would also like to thank my colleague Gao Rui for the production work behind the scene. I'm Ziting from China Dispatches. Thanks for listening.